My name? Walter. Sorry. Spacing out. My bad. So The Secret Life of Walter Mitty follows Walter Mitty, played by Ben Stiller, who's a daydreamer who takes a leap of faith to exit his fantasy and go out and explore the world. I went into this movie expecting very good things because the second trailer, especially, and the first trailer also, were magnificent. They got me very pumped to see this film. And I'm not gonna lie, it let me down. Every time something cool is about to happen in the movie, you're like, oh, saw that in a trailer, this is a landscape, this is gonna see what's gonna happen, and it's just an extension of the trailer, which is never good. But I'm just gonna judge the movie for itself if I'd never seen it. I still enjoyed it, even with pre-knowing a lot of the scenes that were gonna happen. I just would have not liked to have seen as much, especially the second trailer gave away a lot of the movie. The plot of the film is a very interesting concept, and it kind of spoke to me since I walk around the hallways in high school just spacing out, not just going on autopilot and daydreaming. I think a lot of us do. And in that way, I'm similar to Ben Stiller's character, and I thought that was pretty fascinating. So on that level, it did work. If it was only an exploration of his mind and stuff and his psyche, it would have been a lot better. But I guess the main focus of the movie is on that and him having to form relationships and not always living his fantasy. But the way it executes that is not the best. The best parts of the movie take place when he is not in his fantasy world, which is weird because that'd be like the most interesting part. If you look at the premise, it is him branching out in the real world. When it sticks to that focus, it's a really good movie, and I'm not even going to say even when it gets to that level it's Oscar worthy, but it's still like maybe buy it on Blu-ray worthy. But sadly, those moments are really only in the later half, and in the first half of the film, it's filled with just this awkward comedy and some interesting setup, but most of it's just these weird dream sequences that don't really flow very well, and they take you out of it because as soon as one starts, you realize, oh, this is a dream sequence. He's gonna wake up any second now. I don't care about what's going on anymore. Well, the comedy did work for some people. My theater had some people laughing. A couple people were laughing almost every single joke, which was just kind of, okay, you're having a good time. I guess that's great, but I don't know what's going on, or like in terms of their humor. I thought I was sitting there unamused, like that wasn't funny. I know it's supposed to be funny. It wasn't funny, but thankfully none of the jokes, even though if they didn't hit, they weren't cringeworthy. They didn't like, God, that sucked. It was just like, or there was only maybe like 2 jokes that made me actually laugh out loud. The performances of the movie are all around pretty good. Ben Stiller does a competent job at directing, but nothing really noteworthy. The swooping shots of the landscape are beautiful, but the camera work otherwise is pretty much average. He did get good performances out of his actors, so everyone did a pretty good job. The love interest Cheryl, played by Kristen Wiig, had good chemistry with Ben Stiller, and their relationship was actually pretty believable. The awkward attempts at humor with one another don't miss at the rest of the film's comedy. It added some charm to a movie whose tone was hard to tell at times. Besides Wiig, a lot of the characters seem very cartoony, which doesn't work at all for the tone they were going for. Or if it did, or if that was the tone they were going for, was cartoony, it was a bad choice. Especially this one guy, I'm just gonna say the bearded guy. He was just cartoony bad guy. Like, he just wasn't enjoyable to watch. He was a dick, and it was like, why even? I know why he's in the movie. It wasn't. He did not add to the movie really at all. He was only a plot device to get some of the plot going. Which, if that's the case, he was in the movie too much. The movie, its biggest flaw is it tries to be this big, grand scope Oscar film and a darling. The movie tries to be this big, grand scope Oscar darling, and it fails miserably at that. It's nothing close to an Oscar darling. If this gets nominated for Best Picture, it's really sad for everyone besides people who worked on it, because this movie is not Best Picture worthy like it should be from the trailers. There are times it's boring. My friend to my right almost fell asleep in the middle, he said. I saw this with 2 of my friends. They both pretty much think, kind of like I did. Well, I was emotionally invested enough to, like, not fall asleep. I mean, I was paid attention the whole time, but I knew I was watching a movie. It never once took me out of reality like Ben Stiller was. to himself, and made me think I am now watching Walter Mitty and I'm there with them. It never had a Lord of the Rings effect like that. It was always just, I'm in the theater right now watching a movie which is about Walter Mitty. So, if that didn't work. The parts that worked of the film were the relationship between Wig and Stiller, and when Stiller, or Mitty, finally decides to get out of his shell and go on an adventure. Those parts are very well done. The dream sequences, though, felt very forced and out of place, and are really probably one of the worst parts. Which is a shame, since that's the most interesting part. If you just read this premise and the synopsis, like, this would be really cool. And the trailers may look really cool, but it really isn't, and it's just really just a way for jokes to happen. And outside of maybe a little bit more depth beyond that, there's really no reason for him to be in the movie, besides just get the plot going. The best parts that did happen, like I said, were not the daydreaming sections. They were him discovering his inner self-worth and that he does not have to be in the shell the whole time. The ending was satisfying. I can't say I left the theater unsatisfied. It was like, okay, that ending was good all in all. It was a good movie. If I were to give it some Rotten Tomatoes, I'd give it a fresh, though. But just barely. I'd give The Secret Life of Walter Mitty a 3.5. If this had been a short film, or even like a half hour shorter, like this movie is almost 2 hours long. It's actually over 2 hours long. If this movie was 90-95 minutes, and just like Gravity just got you in, you were out, and you were satisfied the entire time, it'd be a much higher score. But it isn't. It drags a lot of time. So 3 out of 5. See it if you're bored, I guess. Redbox it. If it's on Netflix, I guess it's worth checking out. But Wolf of Wall Street's coming out on Christmas Day too. Just saying, that'll probably be better than 3 out of 5. Although, if you guys have seen the movie yet, tell me what your thoughts are. Are you excited for this movie still? I'd say, if you're like me and you see almost everything, there's a lot worse movies that came out this year. A lot worse. This isn't nothing like I regret seeing. Comment below, like the video, favorite if you really enjoyed it. Yeah. Subscribe if you haven't. I love you all, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.